I'm gonna tell you right now that Usopp could have saved 99% of Alabasta before he even set foot on the island, and he completely whiffed it. But other than that, I gotta say, after watching the Alabasta arc for the first time, it is just a fantastic example of just how ambitious of a storyteller that Oda can be. I mean, he did more in just the 40 episodes of the Alabasta arc itself than most anime can do, well, just can do. And though I do love the ambition of the Alabasta arc, I think in a lot of ways it's also its biggest flaw. So yet again, I have donned my pirate outfit complete with dangerous knife to wave around and pants with holes, so I can once again break down all of my thoughts on the saga. And God, there's just so much to this saga. I don't know how I'm gonna fit this all into one video. But since we're headed for the icy peaks of Drum Island, come take a seat at the bar and I will make you a real life drink that pirates used to use to help keep warm called flip. And this one might be a weird one. It's made out of hot beer and eggs. Today on Mixing Media. So as Luffy is sitting on the bow of the Going Merry, enjoying the beautiful snowfall in nothing but shorts and a vest, he really could have used some of Flip's kind of odd combination of hot beer, rum, eggs, nutmeg, ginger, and sugar. At least odd by today's standards. We've come a long way since the 18th century. But let me tell you, making this was a process. So you're supposed to heat up about a quart of beer, almost to boiling. Meanwhile, you mix everything up into a kind of a batter. And then once your beer is hot and your batter is mixed, you toss it back and forth between 2 cups to help add air and kind of a creamy, frothy texture to it. But then you're supposed to reheat it using a hot piece of steel called a loggerhead, which I did not have, so I improvised by broiling my cast iron pan and dipping the handle into the flip. So let's see how this actually turned out. Cheers. Wow, that's good. It tastes almost exactly like pumpkin bread. Yeah, you can tell the hot poker actually does do something. I can taste a lot of caramelized flavors. I also can't believe that there's 3 eggs in here, thankfully. So other than Flip, really, Luffy could have just used a coat, but the boy didn't realize he was even cold until Usopp literally told him like, hey, you're cold.
Cold? You just figured that out?
And the funny thing is, I think this is arguably Luffy's greatest strength, like his complete one-track mind, so focused on the snowfall that he has no awareness of what he's even feeling. Like, that is the only mentality that is going to get you through some of the suffering that Luffy goes through in this arc. There is just something so deeply visceral to me about watching him scaling that mountain, freezing cold, and then he slips and it just, you see his skin peeling as he falls down the mountain, carrying the weight of 2 other people. One of them is in his mouth. Like, thank God he is so focused on the goal, because there is no other way you're making it through that. But going back to Usopp, the second they came down Reverse Mountain and ran into that enormous whale, I thought maybe Oda was gonna go deeper into the Pinocchio metaphor, like that was gonna be the monstro to Usopp's Pinocchio. But what I actually got was honestly even better. I really did love watching Luffy cure Laboon's whale depression. I mean, you think Greenpeace is saving the whales? No, Luffy's saving the whales. Get this man to Shamu. Shamu's probably dead, isn't she? Oh God. But Laboon also started getting me to realize that there are 2 things that nobody seems to talk about for One Piece, and I don't know why. One is how adorable the animals are. I mean, we got a turtle in a cowboy hat smoking a cigar. We got the supersonic duck squad, messenger lizards, the most head-empty lizard that I've ever seen in my life. And number 2 is the beautiful pastel backgrounds that often, like especially in the earlier episodes of East Blue, just kind of fade to white around the edges, which gives it this kind of watercolory, almost dreamlike feel that I really love. It adds so much to the atmosphere. So with Laboon happily given a purpose again, we get a huge lore dump on how navigation works in the Grand Line and how there's 7 magnetic trails that all converge on the island of Raftel at the end of the Grand Line. And it got me thinking, is this a flat Earth situation? Like how is there an end to the Grand Line on a globe? It's round. Like, is the red line the divider? And if it is, couldn't you then just cross the red line and be at Raftel right away? Like, I don't really understand what's going on here with that. Now, as the crew takes off for Whisky Peak, we just get a slew of character introductions, starting with Blue Nami. It can't be just me, right? Like, other people think that Vivi looks like Blue Nami, right? And at the time that we meet Vivi, she's a member of Baroque Works, and, you know, hearing the name got me thinking if it was related to the Baroque art movement of, like, the, I don't know, 1700s, that area. And so I Googled it carefully, always careful, spoiler-free Googling. And what I found is that, you know, the Baroque art movement was known for being very rich and vibrant and indulgent. And that's exactly why all the agents in Baroque Works are so freaking weird. Because Oda wanted to give them strong personalities to reflect the Baroque art style. And, you know, even Igaram, it goes deeper than that with him. He is based on Bach, the composer, as in, like, you know, I'll be Bach. I'm sorry. And you can really see it. I mean, that hair, not everybody has that hair. Let's just say that. And it also explains why he's like, "Ma, ma, ma." But then we're introduced to Karu, and I freaking love Karu. Just this giant, adorable duck, but that's not even the best part. This guy's got a little sippy cup around his neck, and he just sucks through a straw. And oh God, it just melts my heart every single time. And it was honestly really hard to watch him get beaten up during the Alabasta arc. I was so sad. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there is Mr. Five, and I just loathe how he shoots his boogers as his weapon. I really deeply hate that. He might be the worst One Piece character to me so far. So as for the arc itself, I honestly don't have too much to say about it, except for one thing. When Zoro is up on the cactus rocks and you can see all those gravestones with names engraved on them, I wondered, like, are those names, do they mean anything? So I looked it up, and it's actually the names of the anime production team spelled backwards on those headstones. I knew it would mean something. But if you would like your name engraved in my videos, check out the Patreon page that I just launched, where you can get your name in the credits at the end of the video and also get access to some behind the scenes content. And then if you want to go one tier up, you can get access to what I'm calling the Cocktail Club, which is a monthly video where I'll make some cocktails and take some cocktail requests from you guys and just talk about what I've been watching or stuff that didn't make it into these videos, because there is a lot and I'd like to find a home for it, so I'm thinking I'll put it over on Patreon. So if you're interested in that, I'll put the link down in the description, and if not, just thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all of you guys. But now let's check in with two characters that I definitely did not expect to see again anytime soon, and that is Koby and especially Helmeppo. But I gotta say, after this little mini arc, they're growing on me. I'm starting to like them. I feel like that's kind of the story with every One Piece character, though. You know, no matter what I feel about them, I just start to kind of like them. But I was also surprised how in this little throwaway arc, just how many important things got introduced. You know, we learned that Morgan is free, and I'm sure he will be popping back up again. We got to see the Marine HQ. That feels like a huge deal. And then we also met Vice Admiral Garp, and you know, I'm not up on my Marine rankings, but Vice Admiral's pretty up there. He's probably going to be a pretty important guy, even though he's kind of got the same like functional idiot thing going on that Luffy has. But yeah, I was just kind of shocked how much important information they put into this little side story about Helmeppo and Koby. But going back to the crew, it looks like they just pulled up into a Jurassic Park movie, only the Wendy's girl is here too. Little Garden is the most dinosaurs I've seen in anime since Sasuke fought a raptor in Boruto. But other than dinos, there's also two giants who have been dueling on the island for 100 years, which we learn is really not that big of a deal to them because giants live for so long. And so knowing how long that they live, I have a feeling that giants as a race and that their homeland of Elbaf is going to be kind of like endgame area for One Piece. That's gonna happen towards the end. But this is also Vivi's first adventure with the crew, and I really love her reactions to just how nonchalant the crew is to almost dying all the time. I mean, in something as over the top as One Piece, it's really nice to have a grounding force of like Vivi as the straight man to just remind us that these people ain't normal. It really emphasizes just how eccentric and special the crew is. And though I liked that, I really did not like how the giants had just been dueling for so long that they forgot why they were even fighting. This kind of fetishization of honor, it does not resonate with me. Just go home. Just go back to Elbaf. I much preferred the crew's duel with Mr. 3, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but I love that guy. He is so neurotic, like I feel like he'd be a lot of fun to mess with. And his power is honestly like pretty cool. I mean, 40 episodes later, Zoro is cutting through steel, but he was ready to cut himself off at the ankles before he could cut through Mr. 3's wax. Like, this guy is ridiculously strong, but he expresses it in such a dastardly, whimsical kind of way with his, big spinning birthday candle murder device and his silly little haircut. And I mean, this man, he gets a mech. This man gets a mech. I never expected to see mechs in One Piece. I also laughed in shock at just how brutally Sanji murders the Unluckies. I was like, oh, cute little animal bad guys. So with Mr. 3 defeated and a giant goldfish just popped like a balloon, the crew are faced with their greatest challenge yet: disease. Nami, the person holding this whole operation together, has gotten a terminal bug bite, and so the crew rush off to the nearest island, and oh, what an island it is. I love Drum Island. From the story to the island itself to the characters, it is by far my favorite arc in this saga. It is immaculate and just so cozy thanks to the snow-covered villages and all the winter animals, including that giant bear that you have to bow to that I definitely thought was going to be relevant, but then nope, Oda just included it because he felt like it, and I'm here for that. I like that. And then Doctorine's out there looking like the Wicked Witch went through a midlife crisis and then stole Santa's job. And all of this goes towards something that I think Oda is really good at, and that is making the island itself a character. I mentioned this in my East Blue episode, but the world of One Piece and its islands just feel so alive, and it's stuff like bowing to this random giant sentient teddy bear that really does this. But even better than the island itself is Chopper's backstory. I mean, he was an outcast his whole life, being born as like reverse Rudolph, and then became even more of an outcast after eating the human fruit, which I find it very odd that there is a human fruit. Like, I feel like these devil fruit are being man-made by somebody and then just kind of like scattered across the islands as some giant human experiment. I'll be curious to learn more of what's going on there, because something's up. This ain't normal. But then he finds a sort of lifeline when Dr. Hiruluk, who takes the Hippocratic Oath very seriously, stops to treat the wounds despite him being the like squeakiest voiced buff reindeer I've ever seen. And it really was just so moving to me just how much these two impacted each other's lives over the course of what had to have been like 2, maybe 3 days. And towards the end of the arc where Hiruluk calls Chopper his son, oh, it just hit me so hard. And it really did, like, Chopper finding Hiruluk really did mark the last time that Chopper is treated as an outcast, because from there he gets Doctorine and then he joins the crew, and you can really see just how much he appreciates this. Like when Luffy calls him his friend and then Chopper turns to Doctorine and goes, "Do you see that? He said I'm his friend." It hit me even harder. But it wasn't just the heartfelt moments that made this my favorite arc. It was also that I kept thinking that it didn't make sense, and then it kept proving me wrong. Like, I thought it was pretty far-fetched that Chopper accidentally poisons Hiruluk because he doesn't understand what a skull and crossbones actually means. But then I thought about it for a second and I was like, this guy was an animal 2 days ago. He wouldn't know that. Like, why would he? And then I thought it was even more far-fetched that Hiruluk drinks that soup knowing full well that it was poison. But again, I thought about it, And Hiruluk chose to use his last moments to build up his newfound son rather than tearing him down, full well knowing that, he's gonna die anyway, and he was probably gonna die sooner than his illness was gonna kill him because he was headed off to treat the Legion of MDs or whatever they're called. And I wouldn't say that these are the actions of a normal person, but these aren't normal people. That's what makes One Piece so interesting and actually makes sense. And with Chopper joining the crew, I started to realize something about One Piece as a whole, that it's kind of the after story of all these characters. One Piece is the story of the adventure these characters get to go on after they've fulfilled their duty. Like Nami's 10-year-long journey to save her village from Arlong, or Chopper's journey to find his place in this world and a purpose as a doctor. Like, all this stuff is done, and now they get to go on the journey that they really want to for themselves. And I can't think of many anime that sort of begin at the end of a character arc like this. And though she's kind of mysterious right now, I'm sure the same will prove to be true for Nico Robin sometime in the future. But before we meet her, before we even set foot on Alabasta proper, Usopp has already invented something that could have saved so many lives in Alabasta, and that is the Climatact, which can not only just straight up create water, but also create clouds that rain. And I emphasize the word create because that's the whole problem with dance powder. That's why it's illegal, is that it steals clouds from other people. But Usopp's out here just treating it like a party favor. And I know this doesn't solve the whole problem with crocodile creating the drought, but I'm honestly surprised that Nami didn't put the pieces together and just bang Usopp over the head with a Climatact or something, but I guess she can't know what it doesn't seem like Oda himself realized. But I will say, I do like the whole budding friendship thing that Usopp and Nami have going on as they start their adventure in Alabasta, which is the best adventure out of any of the arcs. And I think a lot of that is thanks to the Egyptian theming and just like the general Arabian feel to it. Like, you've got Chaka based on Anubis and Pell based on Horus, and the poneglyphs that Nico Robin is after are like hieroglyphs from ancient Egypt. And I think it's really obvious that the poneglyphs and Pluton are going to be super important to the overarching story of One Piece. But I can't just sit here and talk about the theming when I have the story right in front of me that is just beautifully woven out of all these different plot lines that form a shockingly sophisticated story arc for Alabasta. It honestly makes me wish that I had watched One Piece as a kid. Like, imagine you're a kid, well, I guess a lot of you don't have to imagine that, but I'll imagine I'm a kid watching One Piece and you're having fun with the adventure, a lot of stuff's flying over your head, but really you're just having fun watching the gun that ate a fruit and became a dog shoot exploding baseballs out of its butt. Then 15 years later, you come back to it wondering if it still holds up, and you find that not only does it hold up, but there is so much realism to this conflict. Like, I could draw so many parallels between Alabasta and some of the Iranian or Venezuelan conflicts that it makes me wonder if Oda was inspired by those. And then there's dance powder, which is a real thing. It's called silver oxide, and it's used in a process called cloud seeding that helps create rain in drought-prone areas like the United Arab Emirates. But whether or not he was inspired, I think it's really clear that Oda is writing up to his viewers. Like, let's not forget, this is a shonen. It's meant for young boys. But I think stuff like this is why One Piece is just so popular with everybody. Now, the other thing that I'll say about this arc is that it is absolutely busting at the seams. Like, this arc could have been its own 100+ episode series, and cramming all of this into 40-ish episodes, I think really makes it suffer. The only part of Alabasta I didn't feel was rushed was Vivi's character arc, which really was wonderful, watching her go from this idealistic princess to a real leader of her people through her adventures with the Straw Hat crew. And the payoff for this is just fantastic as she's trying to stop the rebels and the royal guard from just killing each other, and everything is just going wrong, but she always knows what to do next. Even in the heat of battle, she's able to reorient herself and find the best path towards achieving her goal of saving her people. And all of this culminates into her truly accepting her role as a leader when she turns down the Straw Hat Crew's offer to join them in a scene that just goes so hard. But then to contrast that, we have Koza, who is a huge part of this story, but we barely spend any time with him and don't get nearly enough backstory. Like, I think he only interacts with Vivi once or twice, and then he just heads off back to Yuba without even meeting the Straw Hat Crew. Honestly, I think we spent more time with his dad Toto than him. And then Luffy's fight with Crocodile just felt so scattered because it's cut up into so many little bits and spread across a ton of episodes that it honestly felt kind of anticlimactic when he finally punches Crocodile right through the ceiling. It really didn't reach the same heights of Luffy's fight with Arlong, at least for me. Oh, and I can't forget the Kicking Claw guys who took the superpower death potion, show up, and then just die instantly with zero impact on the story. Like, what was that? That was just so weird. But don't get me wrong, Alabasta was great. I very much enjoyed it, but it definitely felt like Oda's editor just kind of told him that he had gone on long enough and he just needed to end the thing. And I think I will also take that advice because I have gone on long enough about the Alabasta Saga. So with that, I'm Austin. Go check out my One Piece predictions video, some of which have already come true, and I will see you here next time on Mixing Media. Bye-bye.